Right, it's engine strip down time. Need to, although the engine's only done like 1100 miles, virtually nothing is it really, I still want to see the condition of the pistons, if the valves have been in the open position, all sorts of crud and moisture and just decay has gotten in there, hasn't it? So I want to give the top of the pistons a good clean, make sure the bores are fine. You've got to ask yourself the question, you know, why has the bike been laid up for 40 odd years? So stripping the head down. I've got a gasket kit, haven't I? Obviously, you've seen it before. So I'm just in the process now. I've removed the cam cover. I'm just in the process now of turning the crank so we can turn the cam chain round to find the split link. It's here somewhere. Just turning that. Incidentally, it's a 14mm crank socket. I hope it's this side, not the other side. There it is, and it is on the other side. There's the link there. So if we go round to the side, there's the split link there. Now it's good practice to stuff rags and stuff down in here, because when that pops off, it can go anywhere, and we don't want anything dropping down into the bottom of the engine. And by the same token, I've got some single cable here. When I've split that link and took that out, you'll have one end hanging off there, one end hanging off there. I am going to thread through 2 pieces of cable and dangle them over, because you don't really want the chain dropping down into the engine or coming off of the bottom gear, which is right inside the engine down the bottom of the crankshaft. Right, I'm going to split that link now and crack on. Right, there we go. I've ragged all those holes up, and another good tip for this process is one of these, a magnet, so you're not going to drop anything down in the engine there. Right, okay, let's get this pin out and see what goes on. Well, there we go. There's the cam chain link, nicely removed in a safe place, and I've literally unpeeled the cam chain away from each side of off the sprocket there, and I've literally tied on some cable per each one. Nice bit of length on it, because as you then lift this whole head unit now, if you can imagine, the chain goes right down round the crankshaft and back up there, so the chain will not move. That's why you have to split the link to remove all this off, take the head off. So when I lift this up, that chain will sort of disappear slowly down in, and then when you get a sort of 10mm gap under there, you hook the chain down, out and through, so that the chain then leans out over the front and back of the engine. I'm just going to check in the old manual just to make sure I'm doing it right, and then we'll go from there. I've never worked in this engine before, but it's bread and butter, isn't it? Right, let's carry on. Okay, so yeah, I was pretty much right. We lift off the head now and let the chain drop down through as you lift and separate, kind of thing. The Honda Bible states that you loosen off the chain tensioner, which is there. I've unwound it a good 10mm. Not sure how exactly how far. Well, I don't want to take it out in case anything plops down into the engine, and also remove this 10mm bolt from the back of the engine. Thus, good to have a metallic parts tray and another tray for the panels. This is all going to go in the parts cleaner individually, not the points plate obviously, just to see if I can tidy that bit and remove every single trace of the old gasket. You don't want any of that black stuff on there, because that is old gasket, and that will have a ripply effect on the top when you go to put it back on. So right, I've undone the bolt, I've slackened off the cam chain tensioner, all the bolts are out, those are cables. I can now lift the head off. Sounds simple, doesn't it? I've removed both spark plugs, so there's no vacuum in there. This gasket has been stuck in there for 40 odd years. So right, wish me luck. Here goes nothing. Right, just for a mental note, left hand side rear has a seal on it, and right hand side rear has a little rubber O-ring on it as well. They look okay actually, to be fair. I have an assortment of petrol resistant and oil resistant O-rings, so I will probably be replacing those if this is some in the kit already. Right, I'm now going to take this block out, take off the cam chain tensioner first, which does that. There's a wheel system in there. I think it just sits on 2 pins either side of the block when this piece comes off. So yeah, unfortunately it's not looking too good out there. So I'm under me gazebo. So yeah, onwards and upwards, eh? Well, that put up a bit of a fight, I've got to say. But them bores are beautiful, as are the pistons. Look at that. Only very slight, very slight signs of wear there. And again at the front there, and there the rings are absolutely beautiful. I wish I hadn't disturbed it all now, but there we go. All those three, the oil ring, compression ring and the scraper ring, they all seem fine. What I might do still is I still might pack this with a rag each side and then get rid of all this crud, this old gasket, and I might take those little circlips out, just pop the gudgeons out, pop the pistons out and give them a good old clean in the parts cleaner. They will love it in there. Okay, little tiny bit of carbon deposit on there, but so there we go. Heads off, blocks off. Got a tiny little oil way there. That side seems to be dry. Don't know if that's supposed to be wet or not there. I will read the book and find out. That has signs of oilage in it, so that's fine. I mean, everything else is just, it's like brand new, isn't it? It's like opening a new flipping engine. Fantastic. Right. Okay. Yeah, them bores are beautiful. I'm one pleased bunny. That's good, isn't it? So that's okay. Yeah, get that head cleaned up, get all the side panels cleaned up. I'm going to take these side panels off, get them in the parts cleaner, just see what I can do with them whilst they're off. I don't really want to paint the engine, that defeats the object. I want to leave it au naturel as much as I can. I want to get the other side off. I'm sure that the oil filter, internal oil filter, is in that right hand side of the engine, as is the clutch. And as the thing's been sat for 40 odd years plus, with the clutch plates compressed, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to be pretty much stuck on. And I don't want to start whacking it in gear and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather just take it all apart now, get it sorted, soak it again in fresh oil, and put it all back together, lube the whole lot with copious amounts of oil on the rebuild, and go from there. I've got a nice spring compressor to get these valves out. So yeah, it's all looking good, isn't it? The wheels are off at the off up at Trevor's. It's TRS Tyre Service, North Hampshire. If you ever get a chance to go anywhere near there, get your tyres done, he's the guy to go to. Right, okay, take it easy. Thanks for watching. Let's get these bits in the park clean, right? I'm going to clean themselves, eh? Well, here we are. Time to carry on. We've got the engine stripped down pretty much. Just been out to collect my wheels. Thank you, Trevor, me old mucker. Look at that. Got the dot right next to the valve. Look, spot on as it's supposed to be. Super duper. I'm really chuffed with that. Looks original as well, doesn't it? It's the old CD175 wheels. Right, why have I cracked the engine nut? Why have I cracked it? Well, basically, why has it been sat all these years and only done 1195 miles? Good question. So anyway, I have these little beauties. These are really good if you can get yourself a set of these, all different sizes, because we've got little oil ways on each of these cams, which feed oil up via pressure out through to lubricate the cams as it's all rotating. Now I'm going to pipe cleaner all these and make sure, run it through the parts cleaner, get all this out, and just double check that all that's clear and fresh. I've gone this far with it, so I'll just as well check everything, and I really, you know. So right, okay, parts clean needs to go on. I need to get cleaning, get all those old gaskets residue off of there. Yeah, and basically that's it, isn't it? Right, I better crack on. Right, well, the engine block has just been in the parts cleaner, and I've given it a thorough going over with a very shallow angle with the razor blade, paying particular attention to these bore liners. These are a bit skanky, and they've come up really well, haven't they, to be fair? Let's get a little bit of extra light on the subject. Yeah, the bores are looking really good, even to an untrained eye. That's looking good. It's a very short stroke motor. You can see it there. It only travels, stops there at the bottom of the piston, top of the piston. So it's only, it's about, I don't know, 2-inch stroke, if that, less than that, 40mm. Yeah, but there we go. I haven't managed to get all this barnacle stuff off in the parts cleaner. I was hoping I could have done. I've used, obviously, when you're doing anything like this, a brass brush, because it doesn't score aluminium. Oh, crikey. Try it up that way, E.T. It's a bit more of a flatter surface, that's right, because you've got the back of the block lug there. So there we are, that's that cleaned up pretty much. I've gone in the grooves as best I can, without getting, you know, spending copious amount of hours on it with a brass wheel. I think I'm just going to leave that as it is. It's underside, it's not going to hurt. Top side looks alright, doesn't it? Kind of. You sort of squint and look the other way. But there we go. That's the block sorted out. Now I'm going to give that can go over there in the drying area. Obviously, you knew that anyway, didn't you? Now I'm just going to get the rocker cover. Bit of a clean up. Get rid of all that old gasket gunk on there. I'm using one of these very, very shallow angle because you don't want to gouge. It's easy to gouge that alloy. Very, very fine angle. Just go around there with the solution coming out and the brass brush. So yeah, get that all cleaned up, get all the contaminants out of there, and make sure nothing's inside this panel, this plate. Just tidy that up as best I can. Then we've got obviously the engine casing there. That's a bit skanky in it. I'm going to give that a bit of a whiz. Now I want to get that O-ring out first, actually, before that goes anywhere near the fluid, because that will expand the rubber and make that useless. I do have seals. That's an actual fact. Where's the gasket kit? No, there's not one in there. I thought I saw a big O-ring in there. Must be me. I might have put it in my super duper large O-ring plastic box there. That's airtight sealed because obviously rubber rots, doesn't it? Right, I'll give that a squirt, and then I'm going to think about getting this camshaft out of here and getting those oil ways and gullies all cleaned out. I'll get the valve spring compressor out and take a look at these valves. What I might do actually is rotate the camshaft so both valves are closed and give that a leak test. You basically put a plug back in and you fill that area up level with fluid, and you see how much disappears. Obviously it shouldn't disappear, should it? But yeah, the leak down test, just see that right, see what's going on there, see if I need to actually grind anything in. Might just do it anyway, you know, I'm this far, aren't I, really? Cool, that oil seal needs to come out. I do have a load of oil seals I bought for the engine, for the, you know, the kickstart shaft and all that kind of thing, so that needs to go. As soon as this stuff gets in contact with parts cleaner, that's the only drawback with the parts cleaner, is it doesn't like rubber. But all this lot needs taken back to a nice flush alloy working surface, doesn't it? So that's I'm looking forward to getting on with that. Right, enough waffling, time for doing. Well, here we have the right hand side of the engine oil filter cover plate. I don't know if you remember, there was an O-ring in there. Well, I used my my dentist's tool just to very gingerly hook that out. There it is, nice and safe. I've also removed the centre plunger. There I had like a little clip. That cap goes over the spring, and then that spring, that clip there goes over the top of there to hold that little up and down movement, whatever you want to call that in there, plunger sort of thing. Yeah, everything was okay here. When you turn parts cleaner on, if you look, there's a oil way there, so when you literally put that through there, comes out through all there nicely. It was a little bit on the gritty side, it was a bit sticky, that's why I've taken it all apart. So can't wait really to, again, if you run the jet straight into that hole there, and there it comes out quite nicely there. Yeah, it was a little bit, I don't know, it felt a bit gritty, that plunger going up and down. It wasn't free as I like it to be, hence taking it apart. I'm getting right in there. Yeah, I think it's obviously oil pressure controlled, isn't it, on that right side of the engine. I want to get right in there, get the engine casing off the right side, and get right in there and have a look at the oil filter. It's basically, I think I'm right in saying, it's a centrifugal filter, so the oil passes through it. Basically, it's like a dish shaped, and where the dish is whizzing around, any particulates get thrown towards the outside and they stick as the engine's running, and the clean oil carries on through the engine. I think that's how it works. Anyway, right, I'm going to carry on. Well, I'm getting the head stripped slowly. Lots of little intricacies hidden everywhere. The oil galleries are just incredible. It's a simple engine, isn't it? You know, there's no trickery about it. It's just simplicity in its basic form. There's not even a starter motor on it. There's no water to worry about. Any of that stuff is old technology, and so it should be quite easy, shouldn't it? Right, well, I've taken off this end cap off of there and inspected the end of that camshaft. Seems to be okay. They do say to replace the seal, which I have one over here, and it's actually got, you can't even see it, exactly the same markings on it, so that's a genuine part. Now, the beauty of, what am I going to put that up there, inspecting these parts absolutely thoroughly is, well, when I first took it off, there was a gasket on there. I managed to razor blade that off of there, and I looked in, I saw a tiny little hole just in there, and then you've got this galley here like that, and I'm looking at it thinking, well, what does that do? It must transfer oil sort of from here to here for some reason, but no, that little tiny hole goes down through and into there, look. Now that's where these babies come in handy. These are, I'll tell you what, I bought these to do carburetors with, but they are just flipping fantastic. Let me just show you, for cleaning out all these little tiny, oh for goodness sake, here we go again. Come on, in you go, boy, in you go. Right, so I've just pushed that down in that hole a bit further. Oh, come on, down you go. There you go, it's in there and it's out there, just to make sure. Let's pull it back out while you're watching. Goodness sake. Just to make sure all these little oil ways are clear, and again you've got one there which gets the feed from the head, so you can literally follow the oil journey as it goes around the head and stuff, and then through the camshaft and out the little holes and all the rest of it. So I'm doing every tiny little piece intricately, checking it, making sure everything's within tolerances, which it is. I can't see any real sign of oil starvation yet, but Days young, isn't it? But there we are. So, right, I'm going to crack on. Okay, catch you in a bit. Righto, I've just taken off the 4 valve adjuster caps. There we go. And I think I was a bit naughty, wasn't I, when I sandblasted a part of the engine, because that grit gets everywhere. It was all around there. There's the sills. Luckily, I have many sills. I will renew those because they've squared off. So they're going to go in the parts cleaner in a minute, just to get rid of all those bits of grit and nastiness, because you don't want one piece of that grit inside your engine. Right, now coming back to this, I've just done a leak down test on this. Is the light on? Yes, it is. So I've put the valves, the rockers are all loose, they're all wobbling around in there, so that means that the valves are closed. And there we go, I've put white spirit in there, and as you can quite clearly see, it's dripping out of the exhaust port. So that exhaust valve needs further investigation. So I will remove the valves. I just thought I'd double check on that before I go any further. So that's the leak down test on that cylinder, and that is exhaust valves leaking. The inlet is leaking as well. That's cool. Okay, well that's fair enough. That makes my job a whole lot more, but when I've finished, it'll be great, won't it? So there we go. That's basically how you do a leak down test. You just make sure the valves are both in the closed position. Fill up that little combustion chamber with fluid. I've used white spirit just to make it clean. It was lying around, so I've used that. There we go. So I've got exhaust gas leaking, and I've got inlet not seating properly as well. So that needs further investigation. I'm going to have to get my valve compressor out and get the collets off, get the springs off, get the valves out of there, get the camshaft out as well, which is good because I can then use my little beauties there on all those galleys and oilways and make sure everything is 100% clean and free of contaminants. Right, I've got lots to do, haven't I? Crikey Charlie. Time for a brew. Well, that's just the 4 valve caps all cleaned and lovely and sparkly and grit free. Now I need to take out the rockers, both sides. The ones that are tight, I'm going to need to just unadjust them. I think it's an 8mm on there. I've got a little square peg tool somewhere. Looking around, where is it? It will turn up in a minute. But basically, when you remove things, make a mental and a physical note of which part goes where, because it has to go back in the same place that it came out. It's imperative for wear purposes, etc, etc, etc. Okay, so there we go. I'm just going to make a note of literally top left front exhaust, rear inlet. That one's going to be on a piece of card. 1, 2, 3, clockwise 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know exactly where they go back in. All right, just a little bit of a tip there. If anyone else is thinking about doing this, don't do it. Well, there we are. Front left exhaust, front right exhaust, rear left inlet, rear right inlet. So there we go. That's all out of there now. I should be able to technically lift this camshaft out of there now. I think you have to slide it that way to let this end up. So let's give it a go whilst you watch. Let's get some light on the subject, shall we? That's better. There you go. There is one camshaft. Let's have a jolly good look at it. I did put a mark on where it was at the top when I took it out. I don't want to get it 180 degrees out when I put it back in. That needs to go in the part cleaner, and so does this. Let's have a good look at this now. That's not too bad. See, these ends, they run in dry bushes. Some guys have actually modified the inside of this housing and put a needle roller effect in there for added longevity. Very, very clever. I haven't got the tools or the amenities to do that, but look at that. That's looking pretty good. There's virtually nowhere on those lobes at all, is there? A little bit of rust on there, but then again, if that valve was open, and again a little tiny bit on there. But most of these things, it's like the con rods. When you take the piston out, there are no needle roller bearings assemblies inside the piston itself. It's just a dry, not a dry obviously, but it's a tight fit joint. There are no bearings in there. It's hardened machined steel. Now apparently there's supposed to be a O on this to denote top dead center, and there it is. See it there? So when I go to reset the timing, that needs to be at 12 o'clock, like what it is now, like that, and the arrow on the side of the engine here. There we go. The T, that T line there needs to line up with that there. Okay. Well, that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? That's about as difficult as the timing gets on this bike. That's what I'm loving about it. You know, Muppets like me can tinker around with it and not really go too far wrong. Famous last words. So there we go. There's the end of the valve cap and the little collets in there. See the two collets? Now I need to compress inside the valve head, and I need to compress that spring in so I can remove the collets, pop the collar off, pop the springs out, and then the valve drops through and comes out this way. But again, make sure you know which pair of valves go in which side. You must keep it the same. Right, let's get this dismantled, get the valve spring compressor out, and see what the state of play is in there. Right, okay, I didn't bother doing a leak test on the other side. What's the point of that? No point at all. Actually, I might just do it now, actually, whilst the camshaft's out. Right, let me crack on. Right, I did decide to do a leak down test on the other side, and you can quite clearly see that level there going down fairly rapidly, in all fairness. It's coming out of there quite readily, and it's also coming out the exhaust port, which tells me that all the valves need lapping in, which is a fairly simple process. I've got a lapping tool somewhere. It's basically a stick with a rubber plunge, with a rubber sucker on the end of it, and once you've got the springs out and the valves is free in there to move in and out, you stick your sucker on top of the valve. But I need to put them in the parts cleaner first to make sure that they're clean of debris and carbon, so my sucker will stick on it, and then you literally go like this. You left and right, up and down, left and right, up and down, with a little bit of cut and compound in there. Where is my cut and compound? It's behind that lot somewhere. So plenty to do. I'm loving this. This is really good fun, almost, if I didn't have anything else to do. Where is it? Oh, it will turn up when I'm looking for it. Oh, a good look in a minute. It's there. It's behind there somewhere, because I've used it recently on the old DeVille. I lapped one heading on the DeVille. Right, okay, well, talking about DeVilles, I think I'm right in saying that these valve covers actually also fit the rear differential drive hub on a Honda DeVille 650. So there you go. If you can't find one of those, because they tend to break off when you try and do them on a DeVille diff. There you go. Use one of them. Right, that's enough waffling, E.T. This needs to go in the parts cleaner. I need to use the old favourites to get in all of those galleys there and make sure we have flow of oil right through and coming out these holes. There should be 2 holes there. Yeah, there's the other one, and again you've got one there opposite side of the lobe and one there. Okay, so that needs a darn good clean. Now that's all as is. This whole gubbins can go in the parts cleaner as well. You might have noticed by now that I don't wear gloves when I'm using my parts cleaner. There is a good reason for that. I haven't got any. No, that's not the reason. I've tried various different nitrile gloves. Oh, quality control's on its way. Shut your beak. What? What? Yes, there's another car outside. Right, he's a good security boy, isn't he? So yeah, some nitrite gloves literally melt in there, which is no good, is it? I found a pair, the Black Mamba ones. Black Mamba, stop laughing. You know what I'm talking about. Black Mamba gloves, they're good. They don't degrade in this fluid. But I find just bare hands and then a good scrub of Sulfiga afterwards, then washing up liquid, some decent hand cream and a decent moisturiser after every time you use parts clean, because it is not a good fluid really, is it, for your skin. But there you go, just a little bit of a tip. Right, I've got bucket loads to do. Right team, let's do a bit of hands on here. What I've got is my camshaft. I have been through a parts cleaner with it. I have cleaned out all the oil ways. Thus, there are 4, one for each lobe, one there and one there. Now a good way to check to see if they are clear is to put it on the parts cleaner. Thus, let's turn the parts cleaner on. And I don't know if you guys can see. You see that? And there's some coming out. There is some coming out the top there. Now if you notice, the top holes there, the top holes are a smaller diameter. Well, I say top and bottom is the way it's orientated at the moment, but the top and bottom holes, the top holes are smaller and the bottom holes are larger. Therefore, let's just turn that off for a second and drain that fluid out of there. Put it on the worktop here. Let's get an oily rag. I like oily rags, don't you? Yeah, so obviously the oil comes in via this end now, and these are the small holes, and then it travels through the centre, it goes right through and comes out these larger holes here. Now the obvious reason for that is if these holes at the front near the entrance were large, the oil would just simply come out of these easy holes, wouldn't it? And it wouldn't go right down to the other holes. So these holes are smaller to increase the flow pressure down to the back ones. Okay, so that's what that's all about. Simple engineering really, isn't it, if you think about it, but ingenious, you know, something simple like that. Anyway, that's that. Yeah, we'll leave that like that for a minute. So, alright, can you see me alright? I found me valve compressor. There we go. So should we have a go at that now? Whilst we're live, let's get the head, one cylinder head. Let's turn it around a bit. You don't want to see me, you want to see the work, don't you? So basically we have head of valves in there, and on the reverse side you have the collets and so on and so forth. So I need to pretty much clamp my tool. Ooh, missus, stop laughing, you're so rude, you lot. That needs to go round there like so. Right, let's open it up, let's see how far we get. Don't need to adjust that in a bit. Let's adjust that in. I hope this goes small enough. I'm going to be in trouble otherwise, aren't I? She cried. Bugger. It's too big. Blast, there's literally nothing in it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a socket between the head of the compression part of the clamp and sit it on top of the valve, so then when I clamp it up it should push, this part should clamp in. Unfortunately this isn't adjustable, I don't think. Let's have a look. No, it's not adjustable, it was riveted. That's a real shame, I did all the other bikes like that. Right, let's get a decent socket I can put on there. Let's do that'll do. Take a 13mm socket. So we'll put that on there again. That part sits over the head of there. And we can press that in like so. We'll put the socket in there. A little bit of ingenuity in it. Like so. And then we'll clamp it up. Crikey. Because I'm going to be trying to do it too far now, isn't it? Let's undo that a bit. So it only literally needs to expose the collets, doesn't it? Yes, say yes, Paul. Where'd I get Paul from? There. Okay, well that hasn't worked, has it? Bugger. Why hasn't that worked? I'm going to need to go and get a motorcycle one, aren't I? Because this hole here just literally slipped down over the top of the springs. What a pain in the backside. Oh, it's got to be right. Okay, well I have to go and see me mate Graham, see if I can borrow his one. That's a real shame. That is a car one, admittedly, but I've used it for all the other bikes in the past. Bugger, what a shame. Well, I'm a bit stumped on that now, aren't I, really? Oh, well, at least I can give this a good clean up, get the spark plug out, get the carburetor gasket off of there and clean all that surface up, clean the chambers up as best I can. Right, I have to leave it there, won't I? I have to go and find a decent, proper tool for the job. Sugar. Thanks for watching. Well, not one to be defeated. I haven't got time to go into town. It's a long way away and get some stuff. So what I did, I went into my tray of flat washers, which can go back in their right location, and I literally put a flat washer with the internal size the same size as there, and look at that. I got my 13mm nut on socket on there, and that's that. So I've just got to retrieve the collets very carefully. There's one. And there's the other. Now those two little collets, obviously they're chamfered, so when the spring pressure gets released, it's a friction fit, isn't it? There we go. There's a little groove inside there, which sits. See that little groove? That sits on the ends, on the groove, on the end of the a few mil down from the end of the valve. So there we go. So now when I release this clamp, like so, like that, my socket will fall on the floor. Well, perhaps not. Let's unwind it a bit. There we go. Let's get that socket out of there. And my washer has fallen out like a winnings out of a fruit machine. Happy with that. So I'm going to put those on the end of my trusty magnets so they don't fall all over the place. That's another good tip. So stay there, collets. Stay there, tools. Let's remove this clamp away from the engine head. There we go. I'm going to use me twongs. Okay, so there's the end cap. Like that. Obviously it's shaped. Let me go like this because I can't see. Obviously shaped like that and that. So there are two springs. There is an innie and an outie bus. Alright, so you've got that. So you've got 8 springs in total. There's the valve, and you've got the valve stem seal just in there, that rubber seal there, just to stop all the oil going down the valve stem guide and into the combustion chamber and making loads and loads of blue smoke come out the back. Right, well, let's push this valve through like that. Let's pop it through with my finger, and there it is there. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? But it's still, yeah, look at that. Look, that's stopping that little bit of rust on that mating 45-degree surface. That's stopping. Oh my goodness, yeah. You see, it's horrendous, isn't it? So that's why you lap these valves back in. So like that, with a little bit of sanding, a cutting compound just dabbed on to the circumference of that 45-degree valve seat, and you literally go like that, backwards and forwards, in and out, to distribute the grinding paste until you get a nice dull matte metallic finish on both surfaces, on the valve seat and on the valve face itself, seat face even. Right, so there we go. That is the inlet valve. That's got to go in the parts cleaner. You've seen the state of that, and I wonder what it will come up like. So that doesn't look too bad from that angle, does it? But these little rusty bits there are enough. They are just enough to make that leak gases past it. Therefore, when the piston's coming up on the compression stroke, and the spark plug fires, all the valves are closed, but they're actually not, are they? They've opened that minute little bit, so you're losing pressure back through your carb, and you're losing pressure out your exhaust pipe. So therefore, you won't have as much oomph. Your horsepower will drop right off. But that's basically it, isn't it? So there we go. Cool. Right, I've got lots of things to do. Thank you for looking. And I've got some valves to get out and ground. Well, there we go. I've got both out now. There's the exhaust valve. There's the inlet valve. I say on an earlier video, it used to be the other way around, surely. Bigger exhaust. But never mind, there we go. I expect on racing cars, they're bigger exhaust, aren't they? You don't normally have... Oh yeah, on the... no. Some bikes you have 2 inlet valves and a bigger exhaust valve. That's what I'm thinking. Right, well there are the seats. OMG, I am so glad I took this engine apart. Look at the chuffing state of this exhaust one here. That is nasty, isn't it? Right, well I can't wait now to get it in the parts cleaner and give it a good scrub-a-dub-dub, because that is nasty. There is no way on this planet that was going to seal. You know, in comparison... I know it's not very good, but it's all I can do, isn't it? You know, obviously, you know, there's the inlet one. That actually looks mint, doesn't it, compared to the exhaust. Look at that, that's ghastly. Right, I'm wasting enough time. I've got to get grinding. Oh, one last tip before I go too far with this grinding in business. There are a few more components in there I didn't notice to start with. And they are basically valve stem seal here. There it is, that's the valve stem seal. Now, I haven't got replacements of those, but I'm hoping they're going to be alright. I'll really give that a good look and just see what condition that's in. So that's on the exhaust side, so I'll put that in there, exhaust, and there is still more to come out of there. Good tool again, get the old magnet in there. Here we go. There's the washer that the compression spring sits on, so that goes at the bottom of that little pile there. So I'll put it on a bit. There we go. I think I've taken the washer out the inlet if there was one. That's why I noticed. Yes, I have. Look, it's all clear in there. Right, I'm going to go ahead now, get that in the parts cleaner and give the compression chamber a jolly good scrub. Right, I am going to wrap this up. I'm going to make this a 2-part of this engine, or possibly 3 even, depends how I get on in each episode. Right, basically, spot the difference. Okay, original looking one, clean looking one. Obviously you can see the sort of rustiness. So obviously these valves are open, well that one was shut and that one was open, whatever, all those years. Now, gentlemen, please, humour me. I need a little bit of advice, to be honest. This is a 1973 bike. Okay, that's what the valves have come out like. Now that's the inlet, and I'm looking at the burning on there. The bike's only done 1100 odd miles. Tell me, back in those days you had 2, 3 and 4 star fuel, didn't we, with lead in it. Now, looking at that burning, has that been run at some point after that date, do you think? And that is because the modern day fuels have no lead in it, and you have to, for old vehicles, you have to use a lead replacement, don't you? Is this the case? Do we have to run our CD175s on, you know, unleaded, but you have to put additives in? If you could please let me know. The sooner you let me know, the sooner I can crack on and sort something out, isn't it? Might need harder valve seats, mightn't it? Anyway, I don't know the answer to that. If you could please let me know. I'm literally waiting on your replies now to tell me if it's good to go on unleaded without additives, or whether that's just damage over the years where the moisture's gotten in and made that mess. Okay, thank you guys, I really do appreciate it if you can help me out with this one, because I'm kind of stuck now, you know. So right, oh, one last tip: if you're stripping out an engine, don't forget the old exhaust gasket. Obviously got new ones in the kit there. Right, give that a bit of a clean in a minute, clean that out. Excellent. So yeah, if you could let us know, please drop us a line, comment. Do we need to modify this in any way, or do we need to run it on with lead additive, or is it okay on unleaded? Alright, thanks guys, thanks for watching. See you all in part 2.